People like you don't belong in this. Always cut through the office air like a knife. With all due respect, ma'am, my qualifications more than meet the requirements for this position, replied Olivia, the newly hired black employee, her voice steady despite the hostility directed at her. Then you'd better prepare yourself for Hansa, responded coldly. Without another word, the department manager deliberately clitched from her desk and poured it directly over Olivia's head. The cold water cascaded down her face, drenching her carefully styled hair and soaking through her professional attire, forming a puddle at her feet. The entire office fell silent. Employees at nearby desks froze, some averting their eyes in embarrassment, watching with barely concealed shock. A few smirked behind their computer screens. Not a single person stood up or intervened. Looks like you needed to cool down that attitude, Jessica remarked with a smirk, casually walking away as if she hadn't just publicly humiliated a new employee. Water dripping from her chin, Olivia maintained her composure, walking with remarkable dignity toward the restroom. Several colleagues whispered as she passed, but quickly looked away when she made eye contact. Only when the bathroom door closed behind her did she allow herself a deep, shuddering breath, staring at her soaked reflection in the mirror. With trembling hands, she pulled out her phone and called her father, careful to keep the device away from her wet clothes. "Dad," she said quietly, watching water droplets fall onto the phone screen. "It's worse than you imagined." She paused, listening to his concerned voice on the other end. Much worse. Little did she know this was merely the beginning. The following day, she was accused of theft she had nothing to do with and escorted out of the building by security. But 24 hours later, she returned as their new CEO. Have you ever witnessed discrimination? You believe? Everyone deserves respect, regardless of their skin color or background. Hit the subscribe button and share your country in the comments below. Your voice matters in this conversation. William Parker sat alone in his executive office. City lice, the fifth anonymous complaint this quarter. Something toxic was happening at Parker Enterprises' main branch. On paper, profits looked impressive. But the truth lurked beneath us in just 3 months, and these complaints painted a disturbing picture. The elevator doors slid open, revealing Emily Parker, his brilliant daughter. She entered confidently, designer luggage in hand, Stanford Business School credentials that made any father proud. After building successful startups in Boston, she was finally home to claim her birthright. "Welcome back, sweetheart." William embraced her warmly. "Stay for your ventures in Boston. You're more than ready to lead this company." Emily beamed with pride, but William's expression quickly turned serious. "Something's wrong at headquarters," he said gravely. "The numbers look great, but we've lost 6 employees recently." He showed her the tablet with anonymous messages describing harassment, discrimination, and hostility, all from employees fearing retaliation. "Before announcing you as CEO," William continued, "I need you to see what's happening on the ground. Go undercover." Emily's excitement deflated. "Dad, I've prepared for years to lead now. Why delay?" William gazed out the floor, to ceiling windows. "Because this company needs fixing from within. Reports won't reveal the truth. Someone needs to experience it firsthand." He turned to face her. "I built this company from nothing. What's the point of passing it down if the foundation is crumbling?" Emily reluctantly agreed to 1 month undercover. The transformation began immediately. Design a clothes with modest attire, resume carefully crafted to show solid but unexceptional credentials. She was now Emily Davis, marketing specialist. "Ready?" William asked as she prepared to leave. How bad could it really be? Emily wondered aloud. William's expression darkened. "That's exactly what I need you to discover." The glass and steel Parker Enterprises headquarters towered over downtown, a testament to William Parker's business acumen. Emily walked through the revolving doors, not as the heir apparent, but as Emily Davis, an ordinary new hire. The security guard barely glanced at her temporary badge, a stark contrast to the reverence she typically received. The marketing department occupied the entire 12th floor. Illy stepped off the elevator in her simple navy blazer and black pants. Professional but intentionally unremarkable. The receptionist pointed her toward the department manager's office without looking up. Thomas Wilson sat behind an imposing desk, scrolling through his phone. Emily had seen him at company events but never interacted with him directly. She waited in his doorway until he finally looked up, his expression shifting from boredom to unmistakable disdain. "So this is what HR sends me," Thomas said without standing or offering his hand. "When I specifically requested qualified candidates." Emily maintained her composure. "Emily Davis," she said, extending her hand. "I'm looking forward to joining the team." Thomas ignored her outstretched hand, picking up her resume with visible distaste. "Sarah from HR called about you. Said I had to take you." He sighed dramatically. "Let's get your onboarding over with." He led her through the open plan office where employees worked at sleek stations. Several empty desks with new computers sat prominently in the center. Solace bypassed all of these, taking Emily to a cramped corner by the restrooms where a dusty desk with an outdated monitor awaited. "This is your desk," Thomas said flatly. "Passwords on the sticky note. Jessica will supervise you." As Thomas walked away, Emily noticed curious glances from nearby employees. Some looked sympathetic, others amused. Jessica appeared moments later, impeccably dressed with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "So you're the new diversity hire," she said loudly. "Let's see how long you last." Emily's first day had only just begun, and already the hostility was palpable. The morning orientation began with Thomas addressing the 3 new hires. He enthusiastically introduced Ryan and Jennifer, detailing their qualifications and its excitement to have them. When he reached Emily, he merely gestured vaguely in her direction. "And that's Emily. She'll be helping out." During team introductions, Thomas encouraged each employee to share their background. When Emily's turn came, she began describing her marketing experience. "I specialized in digital marketing and focus on emerging markets. At my previous position, I implemented a campaign that increased conversion rates by 38% using a multi-channel approach." "That's enough," Thomas interrupted sharply. "We don't need your particular input right now. Let's move on." Several colleagues exchanged uncomfortable glances. One man quickly looked down at his notebook, avoiding eye contact with everyone. After the meeting, Ryan and Jennifer were invited to Emily was tasked with organizing the supply closet and updating contact spreadsheets. Administrative work far below her qualifications. At her desk, Jessica approached with a condescending smile. "I need my coffee. Very specific order." She handed Emily a note with detailed instructions. "Medium roast, half-inch room at top, 2 pumps vanilla, 1.5 pumps caramel, Holland milk steamed to exactly 1 feet 2 degree. 2 raw sugar packets, stirred counterclotties for 60 seconds with cinnamon sprinkled on top." Emily recognized the power play, but maintained her composure. "I'll get that right away." In the empty kitchen, Emily meticulously prepared the coffee according to Jessica's precise instructions, measuring the temperature and counting stir rotations. Despite being used as a personal barista, her perfectionist nature wouldn't allow her to do a sloppy job. She returned to Jessica's desk, carefully placing the coffee on a coaster. "Here you go." Prepared exactly as in a sip, her eyes locked on Emily, then contorted her face into an exaggerated grimace. "This is disgusting. Too hot and way too much sugar." Before Emily could respond, Jessica suddenly stood, knocking the full cup directly onto Emily's shirt. The scalding liquid soaked through immediately, burning her skin. "Oh my goodness." Jessica gasped with poorly concealed satisfaction. "You should be more careful." Laughter erupted from nearby desks as coffee pooled at Emily's feet. Thomas walked by, assessing the coffee-soaked scene with a smirk. "Clean yourself up," he said dismissively. "And the floor too while you're at it." In the bathroom, Emily gently pressed paper towels against her burned skin. The coffee had caused mild burns across her chest. She'd brought a change of clothes. Her father's warning to be prepared suddenly seemed prescient. As she changed, another woman entered the restroom. Gave her a sympathetic glance. The team meeting later that morning focused on an upcoming campaign. When Emily suggested targeting overlooked demographics, providing specific data points to support her argument, Thomas immediately shut her down. "We'll stick to our usual approach," he said with finality. "Why don't you take notes instead of trying to run the meeting?" Several colleagues shifted uncomfortably in their seats. One woman opened her mouth as if to speak, then thought better of it. After the meeting, Ryan and Jennifer received marketing software training. Emily was directed to a dusty file room. "These need alphabetizing and entering into the system," Thomas said, pointing to towering paper stacks. "Should keep you busy for the week." Lunchtime brought no respite. Emily had just sat down with her soup when Jessica, accidentally, bumped into her from behind. Hot liquid splashed across Emily's replacement blouse and onto her lap. "So clumsy today," Jessica remarked loudly as snickers filled the room. No one offered assistance as Emily whiley cleaned herself up again. In the supply closet, Emily met Michael, a graphic designer who had been with the company for 5 years. He spoke quietly, constantly checking over his shoulder. "They're trying to break you," he warned. "I've seen this before. 3 black employees started recently. All quit within 2 weeks. Salas and Jessica have turned breaking minorities into a sport. Why doesn't anyone speak up?" Emily asked. Michael gave her a wary look. "You must be new to how the world works. Speaking up means becoming the next target. I've got kids to feed, a mortgage to pay." The afternoon brought more challenges. During a client presentation rehearsal, Samas repeatedly interrupted Emily's speaking parts. "Can you speak more professionally?" he asked with exaggerated patience. Less urban." He gestured vaguely. "Our clients expect a certain level of plesh." Emily graduated summa cum laude from Stanford. She'd presented to boards of directors and international investors. Being told her articulate speaking style was too urban made her blood boil, but she maintained her composure. "I'll work on that," she said evenly, noticing how several colleagues averted their eyes in shame. Have you ever been undermined at work because of who you are? Share your experience in the comments below and hit subscribe to join this important conversation. The breaking point came late afternoon. Jessica assigned Emily an impossible task, creating a comprehensive marketing analysis with inadequate data and a 2-hour deadline. Despite the constraints, Emily produced a thorough report, drawing on her extensive experience to fill the gaps. When she presented the completed work, Jessica barely glanced at it before tossing it aside. "This is garbage," she announced loudly. "Is this really the best someone like you can do?" Something in Emily snapped. Not in an emotional outburst, but in calm determination to stand her ground. "I completed this information provided," Emily stated firmly. "The methodology is sound and the conclusions are data-backed. If you have specific concerns about the content, I'd be happy to address them." The office fell silent. No one had expected the new hire to defend herself. Jessica's face flushed with anger. "Are you talking back to me?" Before Emily could respond, Samas appeared psychotically. What happened next occurred so quickly that Emily barely processed it. Thomas' hand moved in a swift arc, connecting with her cheek with a crack that echoed through the silent office. The slap stunned Emily more than it hurt. In her 30 years, no one had ever struck her. The office remained deathly quiet. Michael looked away, shame evident in his stared at their screens, pretending not to notice. No one spoke up. No one moved to helm. "That's what happens when you don't know your place," Thomas said quietly. Emily touched her cheek, feeling the warm imprint of his hand. She looked around the office, making eye contact with each person who quickly looked away. She committed their faces to memory. Later that afternoon, Emily stood by the water cooler, filling a paper cup. Her cheek still bore a faint red mark. Thomas approached, anger still simmering in his eyes. "You think you're better than everyone else, don't you?" he said in a low voice. "Coming in here with your attitude, thinking you deserve special treatment." "I just want to do my job," Emily replied calmly. "Your job is whatever I say it is," Thomas snapped. "And right now, your job is to understand exactly where you stand in this company. Have you witnessed workplace abuse and stayed silent? We've all faced difficult choices. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe now to join our community standing against workplace harassment. 3 days into Emily's undercover assignment, the coffee incident and slap had become his moments in her experience at Parker Enterprises. Standing in the bathroom, clothes soaked but dignity intact through sheer willpower, Emily had reached a breaking point, not her own breaking point, as she was far too resilient, but the point where she understood the situation exceeded even her worst expectations. Emily changed into her spare clothes, the third outfit she'd needed that week, and returned to her desk with her head held high. As she walked through the marketing department, she noticed the silent lenses, muswist, and barely concealed smirks. Most employees quickly averted their eyes when she looked their way, uncomfortable with their own complicity. Only Michael, the graphic designer who had warned her Ilya, offered a subtle nod of respect. Thomas watched Emily's return with visible frustration. His tactics had escalated from microaggressions to outright harassment, culminating in physical assault and public humiliation. Yet Emily remained unbroken, arriving precisely on time each morning, impeccably prepared, and continuing to demonstrate her skills despite being relegated to menial tasks. That afternoon, Thomas and Jessica met in the break room, during the mid-afternoon lull. They believed they were alone as they huddled by the vending machines, speaking in low but intense voices. What they didn't notice was Amanda Rodriguez, a junior copywriter in her early 20s, sitting quietly in the adjacent area, partially hidden by a decorative plant. Amanda had joined the company just 6 months earlier and had already witnessed enough troubling behavior to consider quitting. "She's not breaking?" Thomas hissed. "I've thrown everything at her. The slap should have sent her running. The water incident should have been the last straw, but she keeps coming back." Jessica nervously twisted her watch. "Maybe we should back off. Let HR handle her performance reviews. We could document some mistakes, build a case over time." Thomas scoffed. "That could take months. I'm not having her in my department that long. She's too stubborn to quit, so we need to get her fired instead." Amanda's fingers quietly moved to her phone. With deliberate slowness, trying to avoid attracting attention, she opened a recording app and pressed the red button. Her heart pounded so loudly she feared they might hear it from across the room. "What do you have in mind?" Jessica asked. A cruel smile spread across Thomas's face. "Equipment theft. It's immediate grounds for termination. No questions asked. Company policy. Would you risk your job to expose workplace discrimination? What would you do if you overheard a plot like this? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to show our community of ethical workplace advocates." Amanda angled her phone carefully, keeping it mostly hidden while ensuring the microphone could capture their conversation. "She'll deny it," Jessica whispered. "It'll be her word against yours, not with concrete evidence." Thomas replied. "I've got access to several unassigned accompanying a new MacBook meant for Kevin before he quit. The tablet for conference room presentations, some noise-canceling headphones, total value around $700–500. Jessica's eyes widened. "That's not just termination, that's criminal charges." Thomas shrugged, unconcerned. "Not our problem once she's gone." "How would you even get that stuff into her possession?" Jessica asked. "She has that department meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Her bag stays at her desk. I'll slip everything in, then discover it when she returns. Open and shut case." "What if someone sees you?" Jessica's voice betrayed her nervousness. Thomas laughed quietly. "Who's going to question me? I'm the department head. Besides," his voice dropped even lower, but the statistics carried his words clearly to Amanda's phone. "Everyone knows those people are more likely to steal anyway." Amanda felt sick but kept recording as Thomas detailed his plan. Which items he'd plant, when he'd discover them, even which security personnel he'd call. "This ends tomorrow," Thomas concluded with satisfaction. By this time tomorrow, Emily Davis will be escorted from the building, probably in tears, never to return. After they left, Amanda remained frozen, hardly daring to breathe. Once they were gone, she checked her recording. 16 minutes and 27 seconds. Plays her audio documenting the entire conspiracy. Her hands trembled as she saved the file and backed it up to her cloud storage. Amanda faced an impossible dilemma. She could warn Emily, potentially saving her from false accusations, but almost certainly losing her own job. Or she could remain silent, preserving her financial security, while allowing an innocent person to be framed for a crime that could follow her for years. If you discovered a plot to frame a colleague, would you risk your own security to help them? What would you do in Amanda's position? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to see how this story unfolds.